Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this week's episode of Who Cares? I am your host, as always, Taylor Wallace, and I'm pretty tired today. I didn't sleep at all. I woke up at 3 a.m. and couldn't go back to bed. My mind was racing, and I was nervous for this interview. You know, I'm new at hosting a podcast. I'm new at being a host and asking questions and things of that nature. And up until this point, everybody that I've interviewed, I've been really kind of familiar with. I've known them on a personal level to some degree. And our next guest is somebody that I didn't know at all. We'd had one conversation on the phone, just like a interview phone call. We have a lot of mutual friends, and there's not a lot online about him. So I was very like, ooh, can I hold this together? Can I drive a conversation? Can I get this going? And I'm pleasantly surprised. I think I did a pretty good job. You can be the judge of that. This is our first CEO that we've ever interviewed. I want to interview more founders and CEOs, and this is the first one. And he just so happens to be the CEO of one of my favorite beverage companies, Waterloo Sparkling Water, which is an Austin-based company, and a lot of my friends rep it and love it. And I jumped at the chance to interview him. We've worked together in the past, and we'll talk about that on the podcast. We talk about what it's like to be a CEO, what it's like to lead a company, the highs and lows of being in the beverage space, talk about some personal stuff. His family had a brush with cancer, and we talk about what he learned through that process. We talk about music. I think it's a really great conversation. I really enjoyed it. I hope that you will enjoy it. So let's jump right into it, shall we? This is my conversation with Jason Shiver, who is the current CEO of Waterloo Sparkling Water. He's also held leadership roles at Arizona Beverage Company and Skinny Pop, and he's just a really great dude. And I hope you enjoy our conversation. All right, Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm really stoked to have you here. You don't do a lot of podcasts.
I don't do a lot. I have done them in the past, but I normally don't do a lot. I like to honestly kind of be behind the scenes more than kind of running out front. I know that people have different strategies on how they like to do things, and I like to kind of stay behind the scenes and not make it about me and just kind of make it more about the brand, if you will.
Yeah, no, it's most of the people that I interview, there's a lot of information on them, and I can find a lot about them. And one of the reasons I am interviewing you is because we have a close personal friend, and we worked together very briefly at one point with that close personal friend. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was like trying to do some research, and I was like, man, this guy's pretty mysterious. It's hard to really find some stuff to dig from. So I'm very curious to see how this interview is going to flow and what we can get into. But you are currently the CEO of Waterloo Sparkling Water.
I am.
Yeah, and that is, I'll just go ahead and say it, being completely honest, my favorite sparkling water, and I drink a lot of sparkling water.
Yeah.
So that was also one of the reasons I wanted to get you in here. What's the point of having a podcast if you don't get to talk to people that you find interesting? And
sure.
And
no, well, first of all, thank you. I mean, it means a lot to us for sure, because we do take a lot of great pride in, the product and the brand and how we do it. And so I'm ready to chop it up with you and talk about that.
Yeah. So let's talk about running a beverage company. So I grew up, in bands in the early 2000s, and I think every member of every band dreamed about starting their own beverage company. Mm-hmm. I came up when, Red Bull and Monster and Rockstar were kind of really immersed in the music culture. It was found backstage at every festival. Sure. Tours were sponsored by them. It was just so intertwined with the fabric of music and our culture, and we drank it, and we wore their t-shirts, so I think like many people, I've always been like, man, that would be such a cool thing to do, to start a company. What's it like running a beverage company that has a really big footprint in the community. And what would you tell somebody that wants to start their own beverage company?
Well, listen, I mean, I went to the University of South Florida, kind of grew up on a dirt road in Palm Harbor, Florida, and my first opportunity that I was given in kind of what I've done as a career was at Arizona Iced Tea, and it was during those new age beverage wars. And when I tell you that, it was wild, man. It was wild. There were people fighting in aisles for space and stuff like that when planograms were being done. It was just a really interesting time. So I was able to learn from the likes of Don Voltaggio, who is one of the co-founders of Arizona Iced Tea, and just super interesting guy, very charismatic. And, it just hooked me, man. I was into food and beverage. Pretty much my whole career has been all food and beverage, and really following some of the trends, because that new age beverage war, you had that it was Arizona Iced Tea, Snapple, and Sobe, right?
Oh, yeah,
back
they were
in those
going at
days.
each other hardcore.
Oh yeah, hardcore. And then from there, I was at Atkins for low carb and all that stuff. But my first opportunity as a CEO, I had just finished up with Skinny Pop Popcorn, and had worked with the founders, and we had sold it to a private equity, and then we took it public. And I'm telling you, man, I've never done so many things in such a short period of time that I was pretty gassed. So I decided to tap out, and was treated very, very well, and so was trying to take some time off. Clayton Christopher came and reached out to me, and I don't know if you know who Clayton is, but he's an industry icon, and a guy that did Sweet Leaf Tea and Deep Eddy Vodka and others. And he reached out to me, and he showed me different concepts of companies that he was invested in, and he did not think that I would be interested in a startup beverage company, because he felt like I was wanting to come in on something that was already developed. But it was the opposite of that, man. It was literally, I didn't want to inherit any bad habits. Yeah. I wanted to be able to take something from nothing and then kind of build it out. And so when I tell you that, it was I didn't expect it to be this hard. I'll be honest with you, because every other stop that I had been in, we had our challenges, and we were, competing with, big CPG giants, but this one was so much different, because as soon as we got, up and off the ground, immediately Bubbly or Pepsi launched Bubbly. And I mean, they had Super Bowl ads, and they had all these other things. And you might think, well, what does that have to do with you? But when somebody like Coke and Pepsi, and by the way, Coke did it the next year with AHA, but when those guys are launching something like that, and they're doing Super Bowl ads like they did, it's hard to get space. They're the ones getting the space. And so it was, we were trying to create a lot of noise. And when we did get space, it would always be on the bottom shelf. And I mean, I always call it fighting off our back. That's basically
it's like
what
a David and Goliath kind of situation.
Totally, man. It's definitely geared towards the bigger guys. Sometimes it at least feels that way. And then we didn't expect, obviously COVID, and we didn't expect, supply chain issues, and we didn't expect aluminum shortages, and we didn't expect hyperinflation, and we didn't. So I can go on and on and on. No excuses, because I love exactly where we are, because this is exactly where I wanted to be. And we're very, very disruptive in the category. So you asked me, and I know this is a long-winded response, but you asked me what it's like. Yeah. What it's like is being in a fist fight almost every day. Wow. But in a good way, because you feel like you're actually making a difference. And when people like yourself tell us that they love what we're doing, then that means a lot. It really does. And I mean, because we hyper-focus on flavor. We do it our own way. It's different than how others have approached the whole flavor game as well. So yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, so it's kind of a dogfight. I mean, it is a crowded space. I mean, I think beverages in general, like so many people launch beverages that go under within the first few years. It's a lot like restaurants, I feel like. So like getting and maintaining a pace that is successful is a challenge, I'm sure. Yeah. There's a lot of sparkling water companies in Austin. Do you have like beef with the local sparkling water companies? Are you guys friends? Like how does that play out?
No beef. And I wouldn't necessarily say that we're friends because I really don't know some of them. Only thing that I would say is that I admire what they do. Like I'll use Rambler as an example. And, they would be considered a competitor of ours. But in this town, they've done such a nice job of the up and down the street business. So when you're in hotels or bars or things like that, restaurants and other things, they've done a really nice job, a much better job than what we have done. But our focus is a little different. We kind of went after, the traditional outlets, right? So whether that was food stores, drug stores, mass supermarkets, club, that type of stuff, that's where we put a lot of our effort. And we were able to build a national brand by doing that and just being super disruptive. I mean, when we came in, I've heard this analogy before and I just think it's funny, but it was literally like drinking seltzer water and having somebody whisper a flavor in another room. And, the flavors were just so light. And I had not led the healthiest lifestyle coming up to that point. Yeah. And I used to drink, diet sodas and energy drinks and other things that I've gotten away from since. But I told, one of the guys that was with me at the very beginning, he was my COO. And interestingly enough, he's now at Lalo as a co-CEO over there. But I said to him, I said, man, if you can make this thing taste like something I would drink, then I think we're onto something, because so many people were flooding out of sugary soft drinks or just sugary drinks in general. And when they were getting into sparkling water, which piqued a lot of people's interest, it just didn't deliver on the flavor, man. It was just very, very light and faint.
Most of them, the flavors are... that was my favorite thing about Waterloo is the flavors. I mean, the flavors really hit, and you have really like a wide variety of flavors, and they actually taste like what they're supposed to taste like. And
you said, I mean, what you just said, our CMO would love you right now, because that's what she always says, is that's what we do. We try to make our flavors taste exactly the way they should. And it's multi-sensorial, meaning, when you pop that can, we want you to get hit in the face with a burst of fragrance, from the can, and one, to where you can't deny what it is. And then when you taste it, you're like, oh my gosh, this delivers exactly the way that it should. So yeah, I love that you said that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not blowing smoke. It is literally a drink that's always in my fridge. Has been for a really long time. We originally crossed paths because I was tour managing a band, Grisfolk, and Waterloo sponsored a few of their tours. Mm-hmm. And I was already a fan of the brand, and like even more after that, I'm like, oh, they're repping, one of my bands, and like, we had communicated a few times during that process. What is Waterloo? What's their relationship with music right now, like internally and out in the world? Are you sponsoring other bands? Are you sponsoring music festivals? Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we are doing some of that. We're not necessarily sponsoring bands as much as a lot of, this kind of has that skinny pop mystique to it. This brand does, where skinny pop was admired by a lot of celebrities and other things. And so we get outreach from that, and we send product and seed that way. But a lot of the stuff we did, from the very beginning, we were born in Austin, Texas. So you've got to have some kind of a musical connection if you're going to do that. And I think just as a general theme in our office, we love music, man. All of us do. We all, go to concerts and festivals and other things together. We sponsor some of them. We do like Lollapalooza, and we do things like Bottle Rock. So yes, the answer is yes. We're out there at some of these festivals, but I would just say that music's in our DNA. And as for Grisfolk, those guys were, I met Adam Roth, the lead singer, literally at a bar in LA, and, sitting, waiting for our plane. We're at the airport. You're at LAX. And Adam is since, sober, which has been a great journey for him. And I've kind of followed him through that. But it was, it was, I meet this guy, and, just like you do any other time, and you think that it won't go anywhere. It's turned into a long friendship now with him and his bandmates. And I would just tell you that, and you know this better than anybody, those are the coolest guys.
No, they're the absolute best. I love them like brothers. We've been through so much together, and their music is fantastic. It's still one of my favorite bands to listen to, which is very rare for me to listen to a band that I've worked with so much, you know?
Yes.
But I absolutely love the Grisfolk guys. Shout out to Grisfolk. If you haven't listened to their music, definitely
100%.
check them out. Yeah. That's cool about the music thing. No, I mentioned earlier, and I've seen this trend forever being in the music industry. I always, there is this, and I'm sure you're hyper aware of it, but backstage at a music festival in the artist lounge,
yes,
you will discover drinks for the first time, and usually it's somebody offering free product as a part of a sponsorship that I'll see for the first time that maybe no one has really heard of. And then I'm like, 2 years from now, this is going to be everybody's going to know what this is.
Sure.
I saw it with Rockstar. I saw it. I found Waterloo, I'm pretty sure backstage artist at ACL the first time many years ago, and was like, what is this? This is delicious.
Yeah.
You know, never heard of it. And Liquid Death and like Topo, you know, kind of took off, I feel like, in the music scene. So it's interesting to me that, like, from my perspective, music is always kind of the outlet that, like, sparks the fire of the cultural shift of adopting a beverage. Is that something that you guys are hyper aware of and that you focus on?
No, I think what we like to do, and by the way, shout out to my boy Sasha, who he is able to get us into all of these nooks and crannies at these festivals, man. And he came from Red Bull, and he just knows how everything works, man. He's constantly kind of digging in and getting us into the artist lounge and other things. And I just think it's cool, man. Honestly, you know, to have an artist have an experience with our brand, and then see them walking around with it, see them pictured with it outside of the festival, you know, where they've actually transitioned from, you know, trying it to becoming a consumer. And those are the types of things that we love. And it doesn't hurt to have them seen with our product, obviously. So it's all of that. And I just think for us, we try to run a business the way that we think is cool, right? Like, we don't open up any textbooks and try to follow what others have done in the past. I think if you're surrounded by people that are like-minded people, which is what we have, because we've all worked with each other, at least, I want to say 50 to 60% of the company has worked with each other in the past, or at least worked with me in the past. And then the other, we've been the great benefactor of all these excellent human beings that we've been able to assemble at this company. But all very similar in terms of, you know, values and other things. And when you have that type of camaraderie, because everybody's, you know, somewhat similar, but different enough that, you know, like music genres and other things, you know, are kind of brought into it. We just kind of run things and say, what do we think is cool and fun? And I think that you bring people along for the journey. A lot of people, I don't, at least I'm not aware of one, and maybe you could tell me one, but I don't know of any brand that was just born out of nothing and that got up and walked on its own two legs and jumped out onto the store shelves. It really is with the people of the company, and that has to shine through. If you're an authentic brand, we like to call ourselves an authentic brand. We think we are. But if you're going to be an authentic brand, man, it's really the personality of the people of the company that's shining through the brand. That's what you're seeing. Yeah,
it's hard to put it to words, but there's something about Waterloo as a brand that I feel that, even though I don't know why I feel that. It just feels like a genuine brand to me. Like it feels authentic, and it feels like something that I just am proud to rep, you know, where it's like I wouldn't rep a Pepsi or a, you know, like I don't know. And then also, I guess, being from Austin, it just feels like my city's drink, you know.
Sure.
Like this is a part of the fabric of my town. It was born here, and I want to support it. How much does being an Austin company affect your culture? You know, now you're a national brand. You're not just in Austin or a Texas brand anymore. You're on the shelves all over the country. what does being an Austin company like mean to you guys?
Well, I think that people have high expectations around here. I mean, this is a hotbed for startups and other brands that have made it, especially in the CPG space, man, that have...
Can you explain what CPG is for the listeners?
Consumer packaged goods. Consumer packaged goods. So, in this particular space, whether it be Tito's or Yeti or, some of these other brands that are, that have come before us and have just become behemoths, like you kind of owe it to this town when you're going to come up with something. It better be great and it better be cool. And, we feel an obligation to the city to fulfill those things and also make them proud, right? Like when we got outside of the city of Austin and started selling our products, nationally or whatever, there was still the heart of Austin. You could feel it coming through. I would feel like, whether it be, our association with music or, just some of the way that we think about things. I would hope that the people of Austin are proud of what we've done and what we've been able to accomplish, because quite frankly, it was them that supported us to get us up on our feet. And then from there, we were able to kind of gain some notoriety. But I remember the early days, man, it was wild. If I wore a Waterloo shirt around town or something like that, and I'm talking early days, you didn't even think anybody knew anything about the brand. But what I came to find out was, and even in the early days, either people knew about the brand and had it in the refrigerator, or they'd never heard about the brand. Mm-hmm. Never, ever. And I mean, I was in an airport one time in Tampa, Florida, and I had this case that I had on my phone that I had to open up. And on the inside, I had a Waterloo sticker on it. And somebody saw it over my shoulder and was like, "Hey, man, I said, what do you do for Waterloo? And what's your association with it?" So it just became something that people wanted to talk about. And I think a lot of that came from, just the Austin ties and people that either visited Austin and knew about Austin and knew about the brand. But this brand in this town, man, the people love it. And, the support has been, honestly, really humbling. Like it's really cool the way that people have supported it.
Austin is a really unique in that sense. Like we really love companies that are from here and we root for them. Mm-hmm. And we support them as long as they're good companies and they're a good product. But you mentioned, Tito's and Yeti and I mean even Whole Foods, like they all took root here and were supported by the city in a huge way, and then went on to the national stage. But it does feel like if Austin makes you need to like stay true to Austin even
That's
when
right.
you outgrow them, and so it's cool to see that you guys are still keeping that close to the vest.
Yeah, man, just stay humble and be an approachable brand. People, and if people like what you're doing and they're voting with their pocketbooks, right? So you kind of know that that you're onto something, or at least you're doing something that's resonating with people. And there's no need to jerk the wheel of the business to do something crazy just so you can try to become something that you're really not. And so that to us, it's, the authenticity piece. And I appreciate you saying that, you feel that with the brand because, it's intentional. Like we'll do what we think is the right thing to do, but it's really, you're really seeing the true personality of the people that work there, in the brand.
Cool, man. Yeah. Like you were talking about the culture and kind of the core of what you guys believe as a company. Like what are those cultural non-negotiables inside Waterloo?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we want good, honest people that are going to be working with us. We want them to have the values that that I have, that I've grown up with, I mean, I can't tell you how on the head we've kind of hit that nail with the people. And this is all, you hear everybody talk about culture and do all that stuff. When I was at Skinny Pop, my old CEO told me, he said, you have an impossible time of not creating a connection with all the employees. You need to try to maybe disassociate yourself a little bit more than what you're doing. And I have an impossible time doing that, right? If I'm going to spend, literally more than half my day and 5 days a week at the very minimum, talking to these folks and spending time with them and helping build something together. And there's nothing like building a company together. That level of camaraderie that you end up building and friendship and other things. And especially because many of us have done this together before this. It is super important to us. Every single person's an owner in this company. They all have equity in it, and that's very intentional. We don't soak it up at the top where the CEO only or just the executive committee gets equity, because believe me, we could have done that, but we decided that we wanted to make sure that everybody had ownership in the business because they were all a part of building it. And so I'm saying all of these things is that we create a close personal connection with one another. I feel like we all, and we go through ups and downs. I mean, we've even had an employee pass away, and took a huge toll on the company, but we all kind of pulled together and we're able to get through that. And we have people that have, illnesses and other things that we go through together. But it is like, and I know this sounds so lame, but it is like a family, man. I mean, because they are like brothers and sisters to me, and they're, what's happening in their life is actually important to me. So, and vice versa. And so we'll all go to the wall for one another. And I think that's what makes us a formidable opponent for, our competition.
Yeah, that's great. I I love that you have those values. And I mean, I have a lot of questions about being a CEO, and we can kind of use this as a segue to get into that. But, I couldn't imagine being a CEO and being disassociated from my staff, and I've seen that in action.
Me too.
And I think it's more the norm than not nowadays. And I think for me, one of the most rewarding things about being a CEO, if I ever was one, would be the relationship that we're building, the culture that we're building, and not only like, the company's making money and doing things, but like you're giving people lives, you're giving people health insurance, they're paying their bills, they're doing creative work that they enjoy. Like, what better thing could there be? Right. Like the stock price or the quarterly profits and all of that stuff. It's very important, obviously. But to me, the most important thing is the people, Yeah, I totally. I mean, 100% agree. And I think that greed and ego typically get in the way. Anytime that I've ever seen, a bad culture, traditionally it comes down to greed and ego. And I think that if you have self-awareness, because I always say this to our team, is that you have to have self-awareness and you have to play to your strengths, right? It's just like a sports team, right? You're not going to play to somebody's weaknesses. You want to play to their strengths. And people also have to be self-aware. They also have to check any ego that they may have. And if they're not great at something, right, then others might be better at it than you, and they fill those positions. I'll just say that I have anytime that I sit in a room, I'm not going to have any hard hitting questions many times. And what I would say is, maybe the ops side, I understand it. And Brandon, our COO, has done a great job of bringing me along on a lot of the knowledge that I built from that. But also in the accounting and finance, area, I was kind of came up through the ranks in sales, and so sales and marketing are like brother and sister, right? Where accounting and finance for a salesperson or operations is more like a first cousin. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I say all of this because I think it's important, whether it's at my position or the lowest level position, try to check your ego, recognize what you're good at, and really focus on that to help the company, succeed. And so I think that's a big part of it, just kind of setting the tone, because I'm not going to go in there and try to be a know-it-all. Because I don't know it all. No. So I lean on a very talented team in those areas, and we all kind of carry each other along, if you will. Yeah, I do like. I love the concept of ego and being right-sized and in your abilities and who you are, and I think that's super important. And I think for most employees at a company, it's really, really easy to tell if they're cared about, like genuinely cared about. And when they're not cared about, it's really hard for them to care about the work that they're doing. Yeah. And so I see that a lot, where it's like you see upper management, whatever, C-suite, that just really is just like, these people are numbers on a spreadsheet. But then in the all hands meetings, they're like, we need you guys to care. Like, we need you to give it your all. And it's like, but you don't care about us, And so
right.
I think it's easy for people to see when leadership really cares, and that is really a driver of culture.
Totally. And I certainly think and hope that my team understands that, right? Like I believe that. And I think it's really important that you empower people, right? Like I would not do well being micromanaged. And so this is a, kind of a, and I hate to say it this way, but sink or swim environment in terms of we don't have, hundreds of employees, right? We have right at about 100 employees, and the size of company that we are, there's other companies of similar size that have 3 to 4 times the employees that we have. And we just play to people's strengths. We have people that can move laterally very, very well. And so it's allowed for us to kind of allow people to be empowered. We, our CFO, he started with us at a, I'm not going to say low level position, but a little lower level position. But he was a unique character, man. His name's David, and he was a Division I athlete, and he approached business like that. He just attacked it. And he was also thirsty for knowledge. And so this guy, and he was a person that didn't want you to hold his hand. He was going to figure it out. And so he went from a position that not a real high position at the company, and all the way into the CFO seat, and he's 32 years old. So you just don't know what, I'm saying that because you don't know what somebody has to offer unless you let them offer it.
Yeah.
Right? And you got to listen to them. And so if people feel like they're being listened to, they see others succeeding because they're performing well, and that everybody has a voice in the company, then I feel like that's a good recipe for success.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'm interested, before we go too deep into CEO stuff, I want to stay a little bit on track with Sparkling Water. I'm sober, and Sparkling Water is a huge part of the sober community.
Yeah.
And I don't go to a sober event where there isn't a bunch of sparkling water. In Austin, there's always a lot of Waterloo. So for me, it feels intertwined with my sober community. How aware are you guys of that, and how does it affect, your marketing, your thought process,
Well, we're actually pretty well aware, and it was actually Adam Roth that brought that up to me. I had no idea at the time. I just figured, this was a lot of people just trying to, live a healthier lifestyle, better for you type products, getting away from and eliminating kind of sugary drinks from their diet. And Adam's like, no, man, there's a whole different animal here. There's the sober community that, and we've kept that in the back of our minds. It's hard to kind of market that as much as,
you can't market it, but just being aware of it is like, but it's always on our mind. We have people, in our company that are sober also. I mean, the whole Gen Z community isn't drinking like they used to. And quite frankly, I go through phases where I just work alcohol out of my not everyday routine, but out of my routine. And we do it, my wife and I will do it for a month here or a month there, or, whatever. And I'm getting closer and closer, I feel like, to taking that final step. Yeah.
But I will tell you that that I didn't know about that until Adam shared it with me. And then when he was going on his journey, I kind of followed him and watched what he was doing. He always had a Waterloo in his hand. The other thing that I think that the sober community gravitates towards seems to be coffee as well.
Yeah.
And so I would always say coffee in his hand or a Waterloo in his hand, and it was like no deviation between the two. So I'm aware and I respect it and I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's I tell a lot of people that there's never been a better time to be sober than right now, because there is the younger generation is shying away from alcohol like they never have before. And now there's just this influx of non-alcoholic beers, great sparkling waters, mocktails at bars.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, there's so many options. And when I first got sober, I've been sober like over a decade. There weren't really. It was just like, I would go to a bar and either order a Diet Coke or ask for a club soda with lime. And that was kind of like my thing. And then, the first thing that I ever discovered was LaCroix.
Yeah.
That was the big thing. And that started really permeating in the sober communities. But then better alternatives came along. And those have kind of taken root. So, I just wanted to talk about that because I think, I was at a party this weekend, a big sober party, like 40 people there, and there's just ice chests filled with sparkling water, a lot of Waterloo.
Awesome.
I told people, I'm interviewing the CEO of Waterloo on Monday, and they're like, no way, that's so cool. Like it's a part of our DNA as people that don't drink alcohol. So
that is, a couple of things. We also offer mocktails. I mean, they're being sold on Amazon and stuff like that right now. And I feel like we've done a really nice job with that. Because there are people that just want to go out and have a good time and don't need to, drink. And I can tell you right now that anything that has been questionable in my history has been associated with alcohol when I was younger, obviously. Yeah. And some of the decisions that we regret have always had some kind of influence by alcohol. Many times that's how it is. But, as a society, it gets so difficult because that social atmosphere is got to be the toughest thing that for somebody that has, been drinking most of their lives, and then they decide that they're going to go sober. Just getting through some of those social events and other things, I'm just talking on behalf of myself right now. Whenever I stop drinking, first of all, I've never felt better. I mean, it is like it's amazing how different you do feel and how clear-headed you are. But in addition to that, I shy away from the social stuff, at least out of the gates, because I don't want to be tempted. And then everybody is looking to me a lot of times to be the fun guy or have drinks with them. And so they're going to push regardless, not even knowing that I'm really, working to just prove things to myself, just discipline and other things. But
yeah, it's like when I first got sober, being social, especially around people that were drinking alcohol still, was very challenging for me. And it is one of the things that I tell other people that are newly sober and like that I had to do. It was like I had to have a drink in my hand. I had to have a drink in my hand. And so it was either, Diet Coke or club soda with lime. Club soda with lime more often than not. And because, I don't know what it is, like just the bite of the bubbles, like just drinking plain water just doesn't do it for me when I'm in a social setting. And now we have all these great options, and like, when I'm at home, I probably drink 1 sparkling water a day, but when I'm at an event, I drink like 6.
Yeah.
Because I always want to have the drink in my hand,
And by the way, we're proud and happy and everything to be a part of that for people, because I've heard it before from plenty of people that say, I've quit drinking, I drink, Waterloo, and they'll drink a lot of them. I mean, 6+ Waterloos in a day. I mean, we've heard a lot of that type of stuff too. So I think it is that as well, right? It's almost like people that smoke, they have to have something to do when they quit smoking. And I think drinking
my
is similar.
ex-girlfriend who was also sober would drink like 6 or 7 a day. Like that was her water,
right?
Like just Waterloo,
Right.
And,
sure.
Yeah. And she would be like, we're out of Waterloo again. I'm like, because you drank it all. I only had 1,
Yes. We've heard that. And we try to, when we were starting this, we looked at all of these, reviews of other sparkling waters just to really understand what the strengths and weaknesses were of our competition. And really what did we want to do? How were we going to be different? And, some of the stuff that we wanted to do was that we just wanted to be an approachable brand that you didn't have to worry about. Like too much of a good thing is a bad thing. I feel like there's a lot of that. And so we did, we tried to take a lot of steps like non-GMO project verified flavors, and BPA free cans and other things to where people didn't say
your branding.
Like, hey, I don't want to drink too many of those things because fill in the blank. That's the reason why we haven't even added any functional benefits to our product so far, right? Like, meaning, gosh, if it was full of antioxidants, how many antioxidants do you want in a day? I don't know. I mean, I just feel like it would limit people's approach to the brand. So we just wanted to be there. If they wanted to drink us a lot or a little, we're there for them, and they don't. It's not full of things that they have to worry about, like flavors that are synthetic or sweeteners that are artificial, anything like that. So it's we wanted to be that approachable brand.
That's cool. And speaking of flavors, I'm curious, what is your favorite Waterloo flavor?
Man, I'll tell you, I go through these waves about which ones that I like, and a lot of times it's always the new ones that come out and one will kind of like hit me right. But raspberry nectarine is high on my list, and then I don't know if anybody's tried. I don't know if you've tried, and I just brought you one of the flavors. But Guy Fieri, we did a collaboration with him. We did 3 different flavors with him, and lemon Italian ice, huckleberry cobbler, and then a spiced mango sorbet. And so I was hot on that huckleberry cobbler, and I can't get it out, near me in Wyoming.
Yeah.
And so I'm in Austin right now, so I had it in the fridge when I got back here, and I mean, I've just been blasting those things.
Yeah, I'm
down.
excited to try the mango sorbet that you brought me.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for
and the lemon Italian ice did so well that we're going to launch that nationally now. Awesome. So people will be seeing that every day coming up here soon in some of the largest retailers.
Well, I have beef with you.
Yeah.
Because my favorite flavor is pineapple.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the most elusive flavor that you have. What is the deal with pineapple?
It's been discontinued, actually. So
what?
I listen, man. I get hate. So we make these very difficult decisions. Like, if we're going to launch a new flavor, then what we talk about is turning the tail or cutting the tail or trimming the tail. But essentially, you take your lower performing SKUs and you discontinue those in favor of some of the new flavors you want to bring in. And you always want to be bringing in new flavors every year because you want people to discover these new flavors. And it seems like every time we launch a new flavor, it goes right to number one, and then it starts to settle down to where it's supposed to be. And I would say our pineapple was amazing. It was a great pineapple. Our coconut is another one that I get hate mail over all the time. And really, and it was the best coconut out there. But the problem is that many times these are can be a little bit polarizing, these flavors. And so their natural position and amongst all the other berry flavors and other things tends to settle down in that bottom quadrant. And but we still launch them because we want to touch those people that that appeals to them, like yourself.
So you discontinue pineapple because it wasn't popular enough? Is that right?
I mean, if you think about it, a lot of these retailers, what they do is you have your product up on the shelf and it's selling well, and especially if there's another pineapple out there, right? We would be beating the other pineapple. The challenge is that the retailers eventually they have to put the fastest moving products up on the shelf that they can, right? Because they're bonused also. They want to keep growing their business. And so they're going to start discontinuing some of the, lower ranked items. And when they start doing that, then all of a sudden your store counts, like a pineapple was in 10,000 stores. Now all of a sudden it's in 5,000, and now all of a sudden it's in 2,500, and it just becomes natural attrition. We just have to, we have to be honest with ourselves. And it doesn't mean our baby's ugly. It just means that that it didn't have broad enough appeal, right, to be able to maintain that space on the shelf. It's one of the most competitive spots in the entire grocery store is right down the aisle that we're in. So that's why constantly have to be. That
is fascinating to learn, and also very heartbreaking because I don't know a single person that didn't think that was their favorite flavor. And every time I went to H-E-B to get it, I would be like have to push somebody out of the way to get the last case of it, because it was just like it seemed like it was flying off the shelf. So I've always been curious, like why isn't there more pineapple?
Yeah, and it's wild because just some of these other flavors, they just move so fast in comparison And if you're not being cognizant and working with the retailer and trimming the fat a little bit, if you will, and bringing in new flavors, then you're not doing them justice either.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you say it's really a balancing act of trying to keep people happy, but at the same time, you're trying to do what's right by the retailer because you really want them to succeed. You know?
Yeah. See, that's the thing that we don't see as consumers. That behind the behind the scenes metrics of it all. You know, it makes sense now that you say it to me, but I still want pineapple back.
Yeah. Maybe we bring back some of the oldies.
I'm petitioning it. You know.
Yes.
I'm going to start a petition online to bring back pineapple.
Right on. You
know, or at least like seasonal.
Yeah.
know?
I mean, we've talked about doing stuff, you know, with just Amazon or something like that, and just bringing back some of the oldies that people love, like the coconut and the pineapple. That's been another one that people have, you know, had a hard time with when we discontinued it. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
cool. Well, thanks for indulging me as
Sure.
a Waterloo fanboy and telling me what happened to my beloved pineapple. Let's switch gears a little bit. So we were talking right before this that you've been kind of on a health journey. Mm-hmm. You know, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, gosh, I go back. I guess it's been about 11 years ago or so. Like some other people that are out there, went through a divorce. You know, moved to Austin. Met an amazing woman. You know, started a new job, like all of these things that people like myself use as excuses to maybe not be as healthy as you could, to drink more than you should, to do all of the things that you know are not good for you. And I don't know if it's some kind of internal self-destruction mechanism. I don't know what it is, but I would just say that I got so far off course. And in the midst of it all, I got COVID, where I was in ICU for like 12 days. I had brain surgery in the midst of all of this. And so I was just putting on weight every step of the way. And I don't come from small people. Like we're, you know, my family is traditionally a little bit larger. And so I have to be, you know, way more disciplined than probably most just to maintain a normal weight. And so it's very easy for me to drift off course. And so that's what I did. And I got myself into a position where I was, you know, 270 pounds and hated myself. Like I didn't even want to look at myself in the mirror. I literally, you know, the clothes that I would buy are just, I just didn't even care, you know, at that point in time, and just wasn't, again, I wasn't happy. And then, you know, we got the shock that my wife was diagnosed with leukemia last year. And I'm like, I cannot watch this woman go through chemo. And she went through chemo. She ran a 10K. She did all of this stuff all at the same time. She's so much more of a badass than I am. And I was like, I got to show up and do something. And so one of the guys, and Adam is his name, at work just said, and he's in good shape. He said, if you just show up at the gym, he's like, I'll be there and you don't have to do anything other than show up. And so that's what I did. It was one foot in front of the other, started doing that. And now have turned both myself and my wife into gym rats, right? Like, so we're in the gym, you know, 5 days a week at least, and getting really good workouts. And then at the beginning, I wasn't losing much weight though, and it's not unusual for me because, you know, just really the genes that I have from my family that they blessed me with. That I just wasn't losing weight. So at the beginning of the year, I started eating nothing but steak and eggs. And 55 pounds came off. And I was like, this is amazing. And at the same time that you're working out, you can see the benefits of the working out and all those other things. So yeah, it's been a journey. My whole company's been on with me because they're probably tired of me talking about it or listening to it or whatever. But they've been proud and supportive though, which is nice. And I think the biggest downside to losing all that weight is the amount of clothes that I threw away, or actually I donated and also gave to other people that I knew were of my size. And so,
which is also another good thing. I mean, you're giving those clothes to other people that can use them. And,
totally.
You know,
I'm just watching at first when I was starting to do it, I was bagging them all up. I'm like, holy smoke! Some of them still had tags on them and stuff. Yeah. And so yeah, that has been the only negative, and I'll take that negative any day of the week.
Yeah, it's interesting that like it's not uncommon for people when they're doing really well to regress into these bad habits of like potentially, maybe some self-sabotage or just over-comfortizing their lives by, eating dessert too much and, too many sodas and too many beers and, just kind of excess a little bit of the wrong things. And yeah, it's interesting that, your wife being diagnosed with leukemia was kind of like the spark for that. I love stories of something negative turning into a positive. And, that was not your family's first brush with cancer. When we first met, actually the one and only time that we talked was actually to arrange for your brother-in-law.
Yes.
Who also had cancer to come to one of the Grizz Folk shows.
He did, yeah. He came to one of the Grizz Folk shows, and I think you guys even wore, I think Adam at least wore his T-shirt up on stage, and that was, one of the final things that he did. He passed, unfortunately, tragically, at 49 years old, and that's my wife's brother, right? And so then when she came down with it, her dad also died of the same thing that her brother died from. At a fairly young age, at 60, I think he was 69 years old. And so, yeah, it freaked us out, man. And it jarred us awake, I would say, both of us. So those indulgences weren't so important anymore, right? And the meat grinder that you're in when you're getting a company up and off the ground, taking something from nothing and building it into something that's formidable is really, really tough and really, really stressful. And it's really easy to fall into bad habits when that happens. And sometimes you think, well, gosh, if I have a bad day at work, I just want to come home and have some cocktails, right? To just chill out. Yeah. Well, it's not that anymore. It's now I'm up at 4:30 in the morning and I want to get to the gym and I want to do all of that. And that becomes, the thing that you lean on more. So everything's about habits, man. They can be good or bad, but you're going to have habits. That you can guarantee yourself that. Yeah,
and replacing bad habits with good habits is really easy. And like your friend Adam said, like just showing up to the gym, will spark a change. Like you don't have to know what you're doing. You can just go, and you're gonna, I'll go sit on this thing, and I know how to do this machine. I'll mess with that, and it starts that ball of momentum rolling. Yeah, and once that's rolling, it keeps getting easier and easier to move it forward. Yeah, I'm curious. Like, what were there other shifts in perspective for you that came out of cancer hitting your family so hard?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that you start thinking about your own mortality, right? Like that becomes front and center. And so I think it changes perspective on everything. When you see, your wife going through something like that, it's brutal. Nobody, I would not wish that on my worst enemy. And I think just, first of all, you can make a decision that it brings you closer together, which it did. But your whole perspective on life has to change. Something had to change, right? Because it's too easy to just keep doing the same thing. You're comfortable. You're accepting, that, I guess I was accepting that I was this, morbidly obese guy, I guess is one way to put it.
That's just the way that it was,
That's just the way that it was, man. And it was just easy to do the same thing every single day. And for those people that are out there that, maybe they're contemplating a lifestyle change, I would say to them, just like Adam said to me, is just show up. Because and it doesn't, if you can, it doesn't matter what that might be. It could be running, it could be walking, it could be eating better, but just show up. And, I owe him a lot for taking that time just to say, and this is what I meant about, the kind of the culture of our company is that people kind of give each other a helping hand when they feel like they may need that. And I think at that moment, I probably needed that. And so I just showed up, and here we are, and I feel like I'm in a normal weight range for myself, and I feel better than I've ever felt. And I don't indulge I don't indulge much, so I'll just say it that way. So I would say, has it changed some things? For sure, man. Just puts perspective on life. And unfortunately, it took that to kind of shake me awake. And so for any of those people that know that they've got some things to clean up, I would say no time like the present.
Yeah. No, I mean, starting today is the best time to start.
Mm-hmm.
But change is really hard. It's really difficult. Not having a support system, not having others to encourage you. Like you mentioned, Adam, I'm sure your wife was somebody that, you were leaning on each other during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, were there other mentors or support people in your life, like going through that journey?
Man, I will tell you that, and again, it's gonna sound corny or not real, but it was real. Is our company kind of pulled together when she was going through that. She's kind of like my wife is a little bit like the teen mom, if you will. You know what I mean? So she's the softer side of me for sure, and everybody loves her. So when that happened, I think it was a shock to everybody, but everybody pulled together, and so. It didn't matter if it was the founder. Sean is the founder of Waterloo. It didn't matter if it was him offering us a place to stay, because when we flew in and she was getting ready to do chemo, the house that we were renting at the time literally was underwater because a pipe broke while we were away, and it flooded out. And so we just basically locked the door, turned off the water, locked the door, and left. And then the whole company came back and packed up all of our stuff, which super kind. But we left from there. We went to Sean's house. Sean put us up for a few days. He would have put us up forever if we needed it, but we didn't need it. We kind of were able to get on our feet. And my wife's friend from Skinny Pop, a woman that I worked with at Skinny Pop, her name's Cece. She came in for every single one of her treatments. Like, as much as I wanted to go to the treatments with her, she probably didn't need me hanging over her shoulder. It was probably nicer to have Cece, her best friend, hanging out with her. So. But she flew in for every single appointment, and she still does, even when she goes to, her 6-month PET scans and stuff like that. She flies in and goes with her. So, as well as just friends and family and everybody that is willing to do something for you. And it just gets to a point, right? You're just kind of like, we're just gonna take cover, and we're gonna weather this thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as much as people want to help, sometimes just not having to help sometimes is help. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
sometimes
totally
you're just trying
sense.
to. But there was such an outpouring, I guess, was my point, that it was sometimes that can get hard to manage, but there was such an outpouring of people that just wanted to jump in and help and do whatever they could.
I'm curious, like, having Waterloo and your employees and your team kind of rally around you during that time. Did that change the way that you led? Did it change the way that you saw yourself as a leader and how you operated as a CEO?
I think sometimes you get, first of all, it's so humbling, right? Because, that level of kindness is, it just, I think it kind of resonated with me, and just affirming that whatever it is that, because I lead in the way that I want to lead, right? Like I do things that I feel like I treat people like I would want to be treated. And so it was kind of affirmation that whatever it is that I have been able to do, came back around threefold for me. So does it change the way you lead? I don't know that it necessarily changes the way you lead, but it gives you really kind of like, was comforting knowing that, people genuinely cared, right? So as much as I genuinely care. So I think that is probably the biggest takeaway from that. It's humbling though, man. Like, nobody wants to feel like they need help or, or that they're struggling somehow. But no, it was pretty crazy. It was humbling.
Yeah. It's, in everybody's life, there's always a handful of moments or seasons that really just humble you and put things into perspective like nothing else can, and I'm curious, like, what perspective switched for you? Like, did you notice that, like, hey, I want to work less and spend more time with my family, or did you try to enrich your relationships? Like, is there a thing that switched in you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that you don't take anything for granted anymore. And these are all going to be the cliche things that people will say. But I do think that anytime you get that close to something that serious, and then even have your own, because I haven't lost a tremendous amount of friends and family, thankfully. I've been blessed in that aspect. But, my wife's family, unfortunately, has been just crushed by it. And so, when I got up that close to it, yeah, man, it makes you really love the people that you're around. It makes you want to not be around people that you shouldn't be around too, right? Because life is too short. And there's, I swear to God, man, I blinked and I'm 52 years old now. And so all of those things, you start to say, well, there's all these things that I want to do. I'm more than just, the Waterloo CEO, right? Like I want to do other things and spend time with the people that I love. So there was definitely some parts of that, but it's hard to explain unless you've had that brush. And I know so many people have had way more brushes up against it than I have. But yeah, man, it made me look at my wife a little bit differently in terms of how strong she was. Like I always knew she was strong. She'd roll off the couch, man, and run a marathon. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't even walk a marathon. So I was always blown away by her resilience.
Yeah,
and,
the marathoners get my utmost respect because I'm a fitness junkie. I work out all the time, but running that much in one sitting is not for me.
She climbed Grand Teton, man. I'm like, you haven't even climbed a hill, and you're gonna take on a 14,000 foot mountain, and she did, and she did it. She accomplished it.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't want to, continue down that path anymore. I think we've talked about it a lot, and I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that with me. It's something I've thought about you and your family a lot since then. Like Adam had let me know that your brother-in-law had passed, and I met him that night. Personally took care of him to make sure that he was taken care of for the show and everything. And my heart definitely goes out to you guys, and yeah. You've been through a tough run of it, and it's cool that you were able to come out the other side better, stronger, and more capable.
Yeah, man. I mean, gosh, there's blue skies everywhere now, right? Like getting through some difficult times like that. But yeah, I mean, things that I've noticed too, when you get older, I think, we're all a bit of hard asses when we're young. And then as you get older, you get a little softer. I noticed that with my dad 100%. As he got older. And I think it's, for me, it was having kids and, the emotions that all of that bring. But yeah, man, I mean, there is many of these bad things that you have in life. And I know that people say this, but it is true, man. As many of these bad situations that you have in life, if you were to put, like, $1 in a bucket for all the good times you have, and then $1 in the bucket for all the bad times you have, I promise you that your good time bucket is going to be full of money. And the bad time is going to be it's going to be way less than what you think it is.
It's such a good thing to keep in perspective, because when you're going through the bad times, it feels like that's all that there is, like it's really hard to see the good times. And I think it's really easy to take the good times for granted, like you can have this bucket of dollars, and not really feel it, you know? And sometimes it does take some really bad times to
for sure,
to shake you out of it and go, oh man, things were so good. I can't wait to get back to just like how it was, even though maybe I didn't really feel that happy, but now looking back on it, I was like, man, I had it made,
dude, shines a light. It shines a light on the good times. I promise.
Yeah.
These wacky times that we're in right now really, really makes me love the 80s and the 90s, Like I look back on that, I was like, I'll give up my cell phone right now. I'll just I don't care. I'd give up all of this technology that we have around us for the simplicity of life that we had then. Take
us back to 8 tracks.
Yeah, totally. I'd do that in a second, man. I don't need to stream anything. Yeah. I would listen to it on a record. It doesn't. I would love it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. I have a couple more questions about being a CEO. We kind of talked about this when we talked on the phone the other day, but like in today's climate, it feels like CEOs catch a lot of heat, like it's not the most popular position to a lot of people. Like what's one thing that you wish people understood about the role and why it matters?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I didn't really know what to expect about being the CEO. I just wanted the ball in my hand, I think, at one point, and that sounds maybe a little bit arrogant, but I just felt like I was ready in terms of I had done so much in my career, but I'd never taken that next step, and I thought it was going to be this glorious position that it is not this glorious position. It is a completely different thing. So like coming up through sales, that I was consumed by only sales. I only viewed it through, there's 4 disciplines, right, in a company. It's really the accounting and finance is one, and you've got marketing, and you've got operations, and you've got sales. And so I only viewed it through 25% of that lens, and everything was about sales. And then, as you start to get promoted, and I was president at Skinny Pop, or Amplify as it was called, And so then all of a sudden I started looking through 100% of the lens and recognizing the things that I didn't know. It's not a glamorous position. I spend much of my time managing things like the board, managing, personal issues with folks in our company. Culture is a huge thing for me because I just feel like, man, if you're going to get up every day and you're going to go to work, you might want to be around people that you like and a brand that you love and that you support. But culture for me is really, really big. So I spend a lot of time, thinking about it, putting things in place, working with our HR girl that we want to do specific things with our company. We want to make it fun and cool, and So it wasn't about doing any particular thing that was moving this company forward other than putting the right people in the right places and treating them the right way. But I'm also, and I guess fortunately or unfortunately, not one of those guys that is making, 100 times more than the next employee. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like there's such a discrepancy between small company CEOs and some of these guys that are in the larger positions. They'll lose $40 billion of market cap for a company and get a golden parachute on the way out of millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, which I think is one of the things that why CEOs are getting a lot of heat. I think we're seeing a lot of stories and headlines that are focused on those, that are making hundreds of millions of dollars, and then their lowest employees making $8 an hour, and they won't give them health insurance, and so this discrepancy. But I know that there are a lot of CEOs out there and a lot of founders out there that are not doing that, and so I think it's important to have that discussion and to shine a light on CEOs like yourself that are, ethical CEOs, maybe is a term.
Well, listen, I don't get any enjoyment out of making anybody's life miserable, right? Yeah. So I'm hopeful that I can help enhance people's lives and bring real value to their families. A lot of these CEOs, man, like I get the negative stuff. I really do, because I've seen it, and I'm always blown away by somebody that could just do an awful job, make people's lives miserable, and then get some fat,
and then be set for life. Yeah,
set for life, man. It drives me crazy, because everything that I've ever known about succeeding or whatever, it's all through hard work. It's never about going in, throwing your hat on the table, and walking away with the company booty. Yeah. Like that is, to me, that is
working hard and taking
wrong.
Care of others. I think that, to me, that's the role of the CEO.
Yeah.
And it's like I wonder how, is it difficult to balance shareholder needs and concerns versus what you feel is right or what you want to do culturally by your employees? Like, how do you juggle that? Because it is, at the end of the day, a business, and there are numbers and metrics that need to be hit, and there are, you are beholden to the bottom line, so to speak. And do you ever have to make tough decisions that go against, I know that we could boost profits by 10% if we did this, but this is going to hurt us internally. Do you ever have to make those decisions?
Nope. Because I think that here's what I do know is that the people that I've told you that I've worked with, some of them over 20 years, and I'm going to work with them again. And so if I'm going to do that, then I can't tell them one thing and then turn around and do something else that I know is not the right thing to do. And, to the credit of our board, they've never asked me to do something like that for the most part. We've had our disagreements on what I thought was right and what they thought was right, but then they usually just defer to me at the end. And sometimes those are painful conversations, but I think that you don't sacrifice that part of it. If you can I can look these people in the eye no matter what. Like, I haven't taken any type, because in this position too, you can also, not that it's happened to me, but you can also be bribed to a certain degree, right? Hey, listen, if you do this, then, we'll give you some more shares, or we'll do whatever. And I have absolutely not done anything like that. I will always be able to look my employees in the eye and tell them that I've done the very best that I can for them. And if at some point in time I'm being asked to do something that I absolutely object to and I won't do, and I get fired because of it, I'll still be able to work with these people again. And it's because of that. So that's something that I just don't think that you don't make any deals on that front. I think you do what you know is right. And one of the reasons why I left Skinny Pop was because, or Amplify as it was called, but was because it was a publicly traded company, man. You can't run a business effectively quarter to quarter. You're trying to kill every single quarter. And then the next thing you know, what does that do? It's like an endless cycle and a spiral to cheapening your product, to forfeiting your values, to absolutely doing what's not right for the employee. That's the reason why we didn't go out and hire as many people as we could have that nobody would have even blinked at. We did it to where we just got the right people in place, because I don't have to worry about downsizing. I'm already downsized.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't have to worry about downsizing positions or sacrificing people, or what's best for them, because it allows for us to also be generous with our employees. So it's a great place to work, and it's also, people all get along, and we have almost no turnover, which is great. And so, but you're also not having to make difficult decisions because you prepped yourself leading into it by not being too heavy on headcount, or by spending too much on this and now you got to cut back on it. Yeah. We don't do stuff like that. We're very methodical about how we approach it.
That's cool, man. It sounds like you approach it from a place with a lot of integrity, which, like you mentioned, I think a lot of companies lose sight of that, especially publicly traded companies, where it's just like profit at all costs, hitting our numbers at all costs. And you see this degradation over time of a great culture that cares about their employees, and it slowly degrades, over time, and the quality of the product slowly degrades because they're just trying to squeeze every penny out of everything that they do, and it just becomes inhuman.
Well, we're being overtly poisoned as a human race, man. At least in this country.
Yeah. And
a lot of it is because of making sacrifices in favor of profit. Like that is it, when you're in a small privately held company. That's the reason why that's the only place I want to be, is the fact that you can actually operate a business and do it the right way without having to make those choices. And you wouldn't make those choices, because then you wouldn't get any credit for being authentic. You know what I mean? So you just you set your compass and you move forward, right? You're just heading true north, and you're going to keep forging forward and doing it in the way that you feel like is the right way for all, not only the investors, but your employees as well.
That's cool. Do you find yourself ever dealing with imposter syndrome in your position?
What is that? Imposter
syndrome?
No.
Feeling like you're not good enough or not qualified, or
I think, everybody, what I traditionally will do is I measure myself against other people a lot. I find that I do that, right? And I'll be very honest when I see something and I'm like, gosh, they're a lot better at that than I am, right? And then that allows for you to try to, pick those spots that you'd like to try to better yourself. And I'll be honest, man, I've been around some great people, some great mentors in my career, and don't think that I haven't plagiarized a little piece of every single one of them.
That's part of success, is finding and taking little pieces of other people that you meet and mentors and just peers and saying, oh, I like what they do there and I like that, and oh, that was a smart move, and you know, building your own path with those bricks,
Yeah, I mean, and yes, it's something that you have to also lead with a steady hand. And I always, I see companies that will react and adjust to something that might just be a blip in time, but yet they'll completely grab the wheel and jerk the wheel. And I am the opposite of that. I always
I've seen that a lot.
like to try to operate from a position of confidence or strength, or at least outwardly, right? So and not being too herky jerky and not being too chicken little, and just drawing upon those people that you've had in your past that you admired, that what would they have done. And I've seen this before. I thought I had seen everything, but the last 5 years has been the worst time to operate a small business for sure. But now I'm even more bullish that I've seen a lot and can help our team think through. But we have a lot of great people around me, so it's not just me. It's just more about just getting the right people in the right seats and around you, and then that'll give you even more confidence, because you got so many bright people that look at things from different perspectives. And again, it goes back to that humility that we talked about earlier, and self-awareness to say, hey man, help me think through this. This is what I see. What do you see? And I promise you, every single time, if everybody's being honest in that room and nobody's worrying about stepping on somebody's feelings, and you're just able to get it all out in the open and you can talk through it, you're going to always walk away with a good direction coming out of stuff like that. So I don't know if I'd call it imposter syndrome as much as I would say that I'm a plagiarist, at heart, but you know what? It's worked.
I think the most successful people are, though. I really do. I think, surrounding yourself with really good people, talented people that are smarter than you, or maybe a few steps ahead of you on the path that you're trying to go down, and trying to emulate what they're doing and learn from them, is one of the biggest keys to success. It has been for me. There's a lot to that saying, try to not be the smartest person in the room,
right?
And you're always going to be on a good path, and if you are the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. You shouldn't be the smartest person in the room, or at least think that you're the smartest person in the room, for sure. Definitely there's that humility piece right there.
100%. And I mean, some of the people that you would expect that, I've gotten exposure to, that I'm like, gosh, these people are really interesting, super successful. And many times I walk away and I'm not nearly as impressed as I am with some of the mentors that I've had in my past that were just, at the time, a vice president of sales, let's say, and I was a regional manager, and I still stay in touch with them, and I still talk to them about specific things. But a lot of the others, they seem to sometimes when they speak, I'm like, I'm not understanding that, or it's a lot of speaking in platitudes and other things. So I like people that are just really direct and say it like it is. I get way more out of that than some of the other stuff, talking whimsically about things.
I love it. So I'm curious. We're going to start to wrap up now, but one of the themes of this podcast is like what we care about and what we're trying to care less about. Like today in your life, what is one of the main things that you care about?
Oh, I mean, my wife, my children, those things are always going to go to the top of the list. Yeah. I mean, this business and the people that comprise it, are also a part of my life. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily define me, but at the same time, it's a big part of my life. So yeah, I care about the people that are around me. This has been the struggle that I've had, that others have pointed out is that I have a hard time. I like people. Like I like to get to know them. I like doing the things that you're doing right now, asking a bunch of questions and just trying to figure them out. But yeah, I don't think that there's any. I have 2 daughters, and one's getting ready to get married, and so all of these things are starting to consume more of my headspace, and she's opening up her own business now. So she's going to be an entrepreneur, which I'm super proud of. And then my other daughter is a NICU nurse. And so, life, man, I'm engaged, in life right now.
Fantastic. And is there something in your life right now that you're trying to care less about, that you're really trying to let go of?
My Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man, but they've got me by the heart. No, I'm a Bucs fan, and I'm getting excited for football season. But, all of those things, they just help you pass time, right? Yeah. When you're into sports and stuff. Like, I used to be able to tell you every single person on the field and stuff like that. It's just become less and less important. And I always wondered, why I knew so much more about the players and their stats and everything else than all the older guys that were around me, my dad and his friends and stuff. They didn't care about it at the time. I'm sure they were able to do the same when they were, young like I was and be able to say all that stuff. But now it makes sense. Now as I've gotten older is that, you're more engaged in life than you are in, sports just helping you pass time. I mean, they're fun, don't get me wrong, but it's just less important to me.
Good. Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, I'm a big hockey fan, and I used to watch every game, and it's just so time consuming.
It is. It's a commitment, man.
Yeah, and there's other things I'd rather be spending my time doing.
Well,
connecting with people and.
You have. I mean, in football, there is a huge chance that the end of the season is going to be super painful for every single football fan, except for one team, right? Like that's it. Everybody else is going to be pissed off and complaining about the refs. And I just don't need that heartburn right now. I can do without it. So yeah, it's a little less important.
Yeah. Last thing, we always ask our guests to hit us with a hot take or an unpopular opinion, Oh
God.
Something light, something funny. Something that you believe that people should just stop doing or shouldn't do altogether.
Oh my God! Now you hit me with a question that I don't have a quick answer to. Now you're getting me out of my comfort zone.
I've been trying to throw you off this whole time, and it's just you weren't fazed. You were just.
Country music is on its way back, man. I don't know. I know that you're into music, and I know I'm not even answering your question right now. It's because something is not just jumping right to the top of my mind, and I apologize for that. But I will tell you that with our love of music, do you know a guy by the name of Steven Wilson Jr.?
I don't.
You got to check him out, man.
Okay.
He's a super unique dude. So my hot take is Steven Wilson Jr. is on his way, and he's been talked about quite a bit. I mean, he was on Howard Stern, or not on Howard Stern. Howard Stern's been talking about him, and Theo Vaughn, and all these guys now are starting to catch on to him. So I know that's not answering your question because I don't necessarily have a great answer to it.
But, that's all right. That's all right. But country music is on the rise. It's bigger than it's ever been. I feel like everybody in every genre wants to make a country album right now.
Yeah.
And it's a good time for country music.
Totally.
For our friends in Nashville.
I know, for our friends in Nashville, absolutely.
Well, Jason, I am so grateful that you came to sit down and do this with me. I know you're super busy and you packed this into your schedule, and I think this was a really great conversation. I love what you guys make at Waterloo, and thanks again for coming.
Well, Taylor, thanks for the Lou love, man. I really do appreciate that. I know that we've met briefly before. I know we've spoken before at least, and I know we share some friends, and I'm just really happy that I got here this morning and was able to do this with you. So thank you for having me. Yeah, thanks so much. For those still listening, thanks for listening to Who Cares. We're really glad that you're here. If you like this episode at all, please send it to whoever you think might enjoy it as well. You can find us on all the socials at Who the Pod Cares.
or you can head to whothepodcares.com, check out more, drop us a note, and we're building this thing together. So thank you for being a part of it. Thank you, Jason, for coming.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.